Nerd On the Podcast is proudly partnered with Apogee Electronics and Odyssey Headphones, leaders in the field of audio.
If I'm super into like movies and Batman, Corey's into like movies and X-Men.
What is, everyone? Welcome to Nerd on the Podcast you didn't need, but you, yes, you deserve.
Yeah, you
and
do.
where all level of nerd are welcome, even if you're a mutant, even
Or
if you're
not.
the next
No, you're not.
next generation of humans.
Even if you've ascended.
With that, I'll say this. Beautifully written by Tom, by the way. I appreciate this. While you slept, the world changed and new gods emerged. From the mind of Jonathan Hickman dawns a new day for the pages of the Marvel landscape with the relaunch of the team that defines an era, the X-Men, with today's topic of discussion, House and Powers of X and 10. However you want to throw that out there.
Thank you for those air horns, Tom.
Oh.
I
Yeah.
mean, they are well warranted.
Hyped beyond hyped for this.
Yeah.
But to
very
start
hyped.
things off, I'm Corey.
I'm Ollie.
And I'm Tom.
Caitlin.
And I am Josh, and this episode is brought to you in part by the members of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by Patreon.
Patreon.
As a member of the Nerd On Nation,
Oh.
you do get fun perks.
Fun. You know, noticing
perks.
that?
I know that.
Nope,
Kazoo!
just fun perks.
I hate it.
Fun perks like bonus episodes. You get early access to pretty much everything that we do. Not pretty much. You do get early access to
All
everything
of
that we
it,
do.
yeah.
Even the merch that we put out. You do get access to private channels on our Discord server that are only for Nerd On Nation members. There's lots of fun stuff going on over there, and do consider joining the nation because it does allow us to keep on growing and keep on being the best that we can be. And but you can check that out, nerdon.io/Patreon, and check out our Discord.
Discord.
Fred Durst.
Discord. Are you Irish?
The Discord, nerdon.io/Discord. And our partners, Apogee, who have so lovingly equipped us with these microphones, the hype mic, the Ultimate
Mac.
Podcast microphone, and Odyssey headphones that taste like butter. Right?
Yeah, they taste like
In your
butter
ears.
to your ear. If
Tastes
your ears
like
were
butter in
mouths,
your
these would
ears.
taste like
It's
butter. I
having a
think that's the
stick
new
of butter
slogan.
jammed in your
You could
ears.
spread it on a nice piece of cheese.
Ozzy, if
It
your
tastes
ears
so
were
good.
mouths, they would taste like butter.
If your ears were mouths, it would taste like butter.
There it
You guys
is.
can use that. You guys can use that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
can
you
use it,
put-
Ozzy. Don't worry. It's all
I'll
for you.
email them and let them
Nerd On.
know that we have a new phrase for them.
Yeah.
Just this clip. Just this.
Yeah. But yeah, that is the housekeeping. On with the episode.
Yes.
So that brings us to our first few segments, baby. If you are brand spanking new to Nerd On,
It's a lot of spank.
you are going to be in for a ride because this is the point where at the end of the episode, we are going to rate this giant fucking volume of shit. Beautiful, wonderful shit.
Delicious content. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah. And we're going to rate it from 0 to 5, baby. And so right now we're going to go around the digital screen squares. You better be watching this on YouTube to understand what I'm talking about. We're going to guess that grump.
Jonathan Hickman's X-Men. Comic book show. X-Men. Nothing but X-Men.
I feel so comfortable to do this that my roommate's not home for this week, so I can
That's
be as
fair.
loud as I want.
I feel bad for my roommates because they don't know what's going on.
My roommate's married to me, so she has to put up with it.
Yep. And death to us putting up with each other.
Wife.
So Guess That Grump is a segment where we're going to go again around and guess who's going to have the lowest number from that 1 to 5 rating, no matter how high, because it typically is.
Or how low.
No matter how high it is. If you were the lowest one in the group, then you are the grump for the week. Since I always remix it, I am the new gods that have awakened in this new world. I will go first. And I'm going to say that it's Caitlin. It's probably Caitlin. I'm going to say this. Caitlin is the easiest one when it comes to visual media, like in terms of like
What?
pictures and shit like that.
I think I know
this
what
is-
he's coming
Superhero
at.
comic books is what he's trying to say.
No. I think he means like, you'll be like, I noticed the artist switched on page 56. And then it went back on page 60 and it threw me off. And I
And
just
then-
noticed
yeah,
that there was
so-
a printing error on graphic number 5 on issue 3.
Her
And-
face
and-
says a lot right
It's
now.
not my cup of tea, so it's easier for me to hone in
No,
on
I think you're
things
just-
that don't matter.
You got
Yeah.
detail. You got details. It's the mole in the neck thing.
Well,
Yeah.
one thing, Josh typically likes things because, it's not hard to like things in this world, but we try to make it. 2, Corey fucking loves this. And 3, this doesn't have Fox, even though Pox and Hawks looks like Fox, so Ollie's going to like it.
Well, there you
Done.
go.
He just nods.
She shakes like, you're correct.
And you can't guess yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Caitlin. So that's a vote for Caitlin. Caitlin, who you got?
I think it's going to be Josh.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, Josh. That's what it feels like to be get picked.
I
Yeah.
like that you're yelling
You
at
make
him
that
for
little guppy
Tom
face.
picking you.
This is how the vicious circle
This is
continues.
like when a kid is not treated well at home and then he goes to school and treats someone
Yeah.
else bad. This is how bullies
You're
are
a
made.
bully. So she's a
Yeah.
bully.
Tom picked you and
I'm
you
a
went,
bully.
yeah, Josh, fuck you.
Cool. Yeah, Josh.
This is called projection.
Josh, who you got? Who you got, bud?
I think it's going to be Caitlin.
I knew he was going to pick me.
And that's not out
Okay.
of spite.
I know.
Okay.
But that's how you tell the bully, fuck you back.
Ollie, who
Yeah.
you got? Who's your money
you
on?
tell,
If this
you
were
tell
a horse
me.
race,
You tell me.
who are you throwing like $20 down on?
Shilling on Tom.
Okay.
A shilling.
right.
Wow.
A shilling. Wow,
That's a
we're going
huge
old
bet.
school.
This is tough for me. Mainly because I can't pick myself. I don't know how much I hated this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
For a second, I was
Um,
like, wait, you didn't like it, Corey?
I can take back your
And then
issue
I
1 that I
remembered
bought
that
you.
that's not the case.
The one that suggested this.
I'm going to
okay.
say,
Well-
you know what? To balance the scales, and not that he didn't like it, I just think Tom is very good at analyzing and putting a number on a scale. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
Tom. Also, it brings balance to the force because the Nerd on Nation
That's true.
split their vote between Caitlin and Tom. So you both have
Ha
3.
Oh, the
Okay.
gray Jedi
Well, I guess
rises again.
you technically both have 2.5 votes for you
2.5.
guys. So it'll be me and Ollie first. We'll give our ratings. Then it'll be Josh with the 1 vote, and then Tom and Caitlin. You guys can duke it out. From there.
Thunderdome style.
Wait, so how do people get a chance to vote on us, Corey?
I'm glad you so asked me so. Listen, if you want to take part in what Tom calls the guest grumper, guest grump guesser, you can join our Patreon where we put up polls for the episodes we'll be covering, and you can vote for who you think the grump is going to be the week, and you get a shout out on the episode if you're correct. Maybe someday in the future, if we get enough patrons, we can actually hand out prizes, which would be really cool. But until then, we get to say your name.
Nice.
And shout
Let
you
you be
out.
heard. And a digital pat
But
on the
if you
back.
want prizes, tell people to go to nerdon.io/Patreon, and we'll get there someday.
So now that
How
we're
was
done
that
with
for a
that was wonderful.
Hey, Katie, well done.
wow.
So now that we're done with that part of the show, we're moving on to the next segment, which is going to be our initial impressions and first reactions
And first
There you go.
thoughts and
Exactly said.
and yes,
candid opinions.
and primeval machinations.
There it is.
So I would like to
And
have
gold medal.
for drama's sake, Corey should go last. But how about some Ali? What did you think about this bitch?
So,
Are you calling him a bitch or this bitch?
I
This
mean,
bitch.
everything is
Like
a bitch.
this
Was
comic
there a
bitch.
comma after this or no comma?
No comma.
Okay.
No commas.
What do you think about this bitch?
this bitch, in fact, was a massive pleasure to read. It kind of it really picked at my nerdy bone. If that's a thing.
You're nerd on?
it
You're,
is
you're
now.
raging nerd on.
Basically, like, I'm a huge fan of like hard sci-fi, and like if you're also a fan of like civilizations, network systems, assimilations, like all that stuff, I had no idea that it was going to be in an X-Men book because I haven't read a whole lot of X-Men that are more than just sort of like,
Yet.
oh, what's like the cure for, down in New York City, like having this cosmic scale is pretty amazing. Because this material can be kind of like dry and stuff in other places, but the fact that it takes place in the X-Men universe with some of my favorite characters makes it such a pleasure to not only like pleasure to read and be with the characters, but also it makes sort of like learning about those concepts like really interesting. And like I felt immediately invested with a lot of what was going on. And of course there's a lot of like mind blow moments in this for me as well. And I'll save the spoilery stuff for later, but I had a huge blast, and I can only hope that this is the direction that like the movies go in one day. And with Feige as CEO of all of Marvel, I hope there is some sort of grand plan with the reset and all this stuff. So we'll see, but I'm very pleased.
I'm
book.
very hopeful, but I'm very pessimistic about it.
Yeah, me too.
Because they'll say, this is House of Powers of X. This is the house. It's like, that's not the house.
His powers
Then
of
they
10,
just tear his house
technically his
X-Men.
powers of 10.
And it's
Yeah.
like, oh.
But if I were
That's
to
not
ever
Civil
like
War.
be a kid, like if I were to ever like be a kid that was like one day it would be amazing that like if these heroes were on screen like this, that's how I feel about like this story and like the way that these characters are set up in the X-Men
yeah.
universe. I'm like,
I just want some of the
I want
costumes,
these.
baby.
Yeah.
I want more.
No more of that teasing comic accurate costumes at the end of movies to get rid of them in the next movie. None of that shit will be fine.
Yeah.
No more of that. There was
Exactly.
like 4 of those happened,
Oh,
and I
boy.
just blue balls.
So
Anyway,
so next person, let's have
I wouldn't know.
Caitlin go.
This was a very interesting experience.
Do
I
pray tell.
love so many things in this comic. Like, there are elements of like reincarnation and space and amassing intelligence as a
Spoilers.
being. I'm not talking about
Very
what
vague.
and how and
Yeah.
why. I'm just saying there are elements of it in there.
she's trailering this shit.
Yes, I am. And
Just named all the comic book tropes.
yeah, I'm just naming a bunch of things. That's all.
They're all here.
They're
There's
all
costumes,
here
there's
for your
powers,
consumption.
there's
powers,
X,
there's
there's 10,
people, they
there's
talk,
humor,
there's
heroics,
governments,
and
there's yeah, but like I view this as like a story of hope and progress, but at the time that I read it, it made me really sad. And I will get
The
into that
opposite
in
effect.
full later because it's very spoilery.
Stay tuned
Yeah.
after our
Stay tuned for more if you want to hear why it was
after
real
our-
sad.
after our sponsor announcement.
Really making that exciting there, Caitlin.
Yeah.
Josh,
So first impressions. When this first was, I want to say airing. No, when this was first being published, I remember in the Nerd On Discord,
Me and David
Barry and Corey, and really the whole comic channel was going wild about this. And it was probably, I think it was
Just
about like
chunks of
halfway.
spoiler redacted text.
Yeah, it
on
was
our
just
Discord.
black. It was just black the whole time. And I never would undo the spoiler thing. I would just, okay, this sounds really cool. And so I started subscribing to it on Comixology, and I started
What's
reading.
Comixology?
What's Comixology? And I started reading it,
We
and
do
I
need
was
to talk
like,
about that.
holy shit, this is really good. Before that, I hadn't read much X-Men at all, if any, really, except for like when the X-Men were like in other events. And so I hadn't
or the
read,
one we read for
yeah.
this.
So I hadn't read anything that was like the Infinity series, like part of the X-Men were in that. But it was so cool to get this experience, this story for my quote first all X-Men all the time experience, because I know that it was groundbreaking, and I know that there was a lot of things that Hickman did for this, and it was a joy to read. It was one of those things that kind of like the old, when your TV shows would come out each week or whatnot, where
Yeah.
you're like, ooh, the next one's here. It's the way that I feel about Spawn right now. Ooh, the next issue is here. And then reading it again, it was such a joy to read it again, like all the way through, like not having to wait for the next issue.
Yeah.
But everything about this I loved. We'll get into that in terms of favorite parts, but the overall experience of reading this book this lineup was amazing. I really, really enjoyed it.
All right.
Thumb.
So, second to last and probably the most least. Okay, Josh, so I know you're saying, oh, David Barry and Corey would talk about it. Bitch, you know who got Corey his first fucking issue? This motherfucker right here.
I don't know where he is on my screen.
All right.
But he's there.
Because so
One of
this is let me tell you all something real quick. Everyone, the
Tell me,
nation,
Tom.
all of our listeners like you, I'm gonna say this. So
He even
If
got
I'm-
me Krakoa seeds. I just want to throw that out
yeah,
there.
if I'm super into like movies and Batman, Corey's into like movies and X-Men.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that sounds right.
it's not wrong.
Accurate.
And so, like, I made a trip to, or I don't know what the fuck. I think I was just making, like, I think this is when I was working at my last job, and I would honestly every Wednesday go to a comic book store. And I think I heard a little bit of like, I follow certain comic book, YouTubers on Twitter, and everyone's talking about Hoxpox, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, House and Powers of X, and I was like, okay, cool. Let me take a look. And I was like, and then everyone's like, this is the fucking new status quo, and it's Jonathan Hickman. If you know who Jonathan Hickman is, it's not a spoiler, but this is pretty much like the third part of his like ultimate trilogy. And the first part would start with Fantastic Four, second would be Hickman, and then it would be Avengers, and then it would be X-Men. So you hear Hickman's Fantastic Four, Hickman's Avengers, Hickman's X-Men. And so that's like,
There's a reason for that.
there's and the thing that's great is that, okay, cool, these are different things and they have his polish and they're great, but no, bitch, they're fucking connected in such a way so that technology that's developed in Fantastic Four plays in part to the events in the Avengers, and then the events in the Avengers play in part to what happened to the X-Men in this comic book.
Yeah.
So I got Corey his first issue, not even reading it. I was
No.
like, here you go, bro.
He's like, here's the
I-
first printing.
I got an
And
issue
now
1. Here's an issue 1.
I have the entire first printing of House and Powers of X
And
collection.
and then like I made one trip up to Sacktown, and I visited one of my good friends, C Fish, Curtis Fisher, aka Calm Down Warning, or
Shout out.
Existential Romeo. I don't know what his Twitter shit's all fucked up, but he's a dope dude. And him and I just hung out and we just talked about comic books and shit. And he's always got like a really cool finger on the pulse of comic books. And him and I always fucking disagree about shit. But he's like, hey man, he's like, you guys send yourself some Krakoa seeds? I was like, what? And he's like, Krakoa seeds, baby. You gotta get ready for, when they come, and you gotta get your own, passport to it. So I was like, oh sure. And he gave me a pack. And then I was like, this is really cool. But you know who would like it more? Motherfucking Powers, Corey Powers. So I gave it to him. And anyway, so reading this comic book,
My wife
I
said
didn't
I can, when we get a house, I can
grow it. And
grow
he'll
them
call,
all in the
Right.
front, which I'm
He'll-
very
perfect.
excited
he'll
for.
call
In
it-
the front yard. Big deal.
he'll call it Kurt. But I reading this comic book, it's so freaking good. For anyone that's like, oh, maybe I should get into comic books, they mention things in here that like have implications to the story. But if you're brand new to X-Men and the comic books, this is a wonderful place to start, because they sometimes just break the story and was like, here is the information. And so it's not very typical like most comic books where it's just like story. I don't know what's happening. Who's this character? What's going on? Is
It's
there a
world
tie-in
building.
event? It's very much like, here is for the high-end people who like, if you know the references, it's fucking great. If you don't know the references, it's also fucking great. So can't recommend this to anybody enough. And this all spawned Dawn of X and Excalibur and X-Force. And my favorite one out of what came out of this is Marauders.
Yes.
And so what it does and just how it like plays your greatest hits of X-Men.
That's what Ali should read.
Yeah, it plays your greatest
Marauders?
hits of X-Men. Yeah, Marauders is.
Kitty cried.
Let me tell you
Kitty
something.
cried, baby.
Okay.
Write
It
that down.
plays your greatest hits, but also gives a great launching point to develop characters in ways that feel like, oh, this makes sense why the X-Men are so isolated from the rest of the Marvel universe, and in a very profound way. So that's it. That's me.
So
ahead.
now to me, Tom got me my first one. And at the time, I was working this desk job that just allowed me to read comics because I would see 3 people a day. And I absolutely fell in love. And I was telling Tom during the run of this that I hadn't bought weekly comics for like 10 years. And this series got me on a pickup list at my local comic book shop because they knew I'd be coming in every Wednesday to pick up the new issue of Hickman's House of X and Powers of 10. Being someone who is an X-Men fan since I was a little kid, there is a lot of, I'm cautious to use the word fan service because it's not necessarily fan service in the way that you would think, but it rewards fans who have new fans, but fans who have been a fan of this series for a long time, like myself. It's not necessarily fan service, fan reward, I guess. It's a lot of things that people like myself were like completely speechless by, things we thought we'd never see, things we've always thought would be kind of cool. Like it kind of hits every mark I didn't know I wanted hit. And I think almost every single issue left me with going like, what the how the fuck are they gonna do this? How did this what? And just the way it's written is a very I almost want to say Nolan-esque kind of way of writing a comic book in the best way possible, where it does have that like, oh, here's some information in the future, and then we're gonna go back and be like, oh, that's why? Oh my God. Yes, that makes sense. So I really loved it. And to get to the point of this all is X-Men has been a mess for the last couple of years. And as far as their continuity goes, by no one's fault, writers just got to pick what they wanted and what they liked, and they could ignore some things or whatever. And so the thing that Jonathan Hickman has done here with the reset and kind of putting his foot down and being like, these are the Omega Mutants, and that is very, very, very refreshing. And I've said it on our update episodes, but like, if you were looking for a place to jump in, House and Powers was the perfect reset for all of this. And it just took characters in places I just never thought I would see. And I am just to this, like, I've read this 3 or 4 times and watched the comics explained like twice, and I can't get enough of it.
In many ways, it's like it's like almost like the perfect X-Men Bible, in a sense.
It's the new Bible.
It's the new Bible, and it's laid a
Bible.
very, very, very solid foundation
Yeah.
for everything that's launched since. And put the X-Men in a very unique position that I can't remember a time that they've been in ever. So,
Wow.
that's that.
So with that,
I
everyone,
liked the comic.
that might give everyone some ideas of what the Grump numbers are going to be. So we'll move on to our next 2 segments, which are going to be our brief synopsis, and then
Which is going to
our
be difficult.
productions. And the synopsis will be read by moi. And it's not going to be difficult because I'm going off of Comixology's website.
Oh, okay. If you want to go to Comixology, go to comixology.com/
No.
Nerd on. No, it's nerdon.io
I said it
/Comixology.
halfway through. I was like,
Login.
This is wrong.
/ login and sign in.
Nerdon.io /Comixology. So House of X, Powers of 10. Collects powers of, no, fuck this. So face the future and fear the future as superstar writer Jonathan Hickman, Infinity, New Avengers, and Fantastic Four changes everything for the X-Men. In House of X, Charles Xavier reveals his master plan for mutant kind, one that will bring mutants out of humankind's shadows and into the light once more. Meanwhile, Powers of 10 reveals mutant kind's secret history, changing the way you will look at every X-Men story before and after. But after Xavier sows the seeds of the past, the X-Men's future blossoms into trouble for all mutantdom. Stories intertwine on an
Everyone's got
epic
marbles in their
scale.
mouth today.
I know, right? I've always had that. Stories intertwine on an epic scale as Jonathan Hickman reshapes the X-Men's past, present, and future. There's no Oxford comma. I'm a little upset about that. Yeah, so it's a paradigm shift. It's a brand new thing. Hilarity will ensue, and it'll start several fucking new comic books for X-Men, which all in a new direction. So it's pretty dope.
And they're all very good. They're all still very good right now. I'm very happy about it.
Caitlin, can you do us the pleasure of the production, please?
Yes. This publication comes to you from Marvel, who's done
What?
the Fantastic Four. That's what it says.
I'm just kidding.
Star Wars and Howard the Duck. The writer is Jonathan Hickman, who did East of West, Black Monday Murders, Fantastic Four. The artist for House of 10, the penciler is Pepe Larraz, who did Star Wars, Kanan, Wolverine and the X-Men, The Mighty Thor. The Powers of 10 penciler was R.B. Silva, who did Amazing Spider-Man, Unworthy Thor, Red Hood, and the Outlaws. The colorist was Marte Garcia, who did Cable, Avengers vs. X-Men, Marvel Adventures, and Iron Man. The publication came from July 2019 to October of 2019. The series order was issues 1 through 6 of House of X, Powers of 10. And there were over 1 million copies sold across the 12 issues, ranging from 100 to 150K per issue.
You're welcome, Marvel.
It's a lot.
I just wanted the art in these are my two favorite covers, is
Those are variants.
fucking amazing. Yeah, they're variants. I am not someone who needs if I like a variant, I'm buying the variant.
Oh,
And the fact that
Okay.
they had a matching Marvel Girl and
Apocalypse.
holding the Krakoa flower,
Apocalypse.
like, oh,
Variants.
Had
Variants are one of those things where it's like, this is the embellishing. This is me going out of my way to like support the comic book just so I could look at one picture.
yeah.
But it's
I mean,
so
that's
good.
what it was. The nice thing is the shout out to Black Cat Comics here in Magnolia Park. He gave me, because I would go in as soon as he opened before work, which was nice, and he would let me choose the variants I wanted. And so I have some that are just the standard cover, and then I have some that are just, I couldn't resist some variants. And I know there's some pure collectors out there.
No,
but
yeah.
I'm not.
I got
As long as I
the-
got a first printing, I'm happy.
I got a couple variants of Spawn 300 and Batman 1000. I feel you, baby.
Yeah.
So
Spawn 300 and Batman 1000.
Yeah.
it's really big because Spawn is an independently owned comic book. The
Yeah.
artist owns it, and it's never stopped. There's never a hiatus. So it's
Who got you one of those, huh?
you gave me one, and then I bought like 2 more or something like that. So that brings us out of spoiler-free territory and into spoiler-full Krakoa.
Rich.
Spoiler-full, spoiler-rich. So let's talk about it. Our favorite parts, favorite characters, our qualms, and then our
I want to
ratings.
hear first. I wanna
Hear what?
Favorite parts. I'm
Okay,
excited.
okay. Hold on.
I've been
Everyone-
waiting for this. You have no
right,
idea.
Right here, I got these bookmarks with our
Wow.
business cards in there, baby. You know,
Smart move.
staying on brand. So
I can't open my comics anymore because they're first printings.
let's open the first
Wow.
one. What's
can't.
the first? No,
There's
that's not
some
the
that are
first
worth like this one here next to me. This number 2, Powers of 10. The only place I could find it was super cheap, but the rest are like $50-$60 for this
Oh
one
my goodness.
Wow.
for first printing.
So this
I'm
is
like-
go ahead. It was like this is in the beginning in the first issue. And
In
again,
the
this
beginning.
is spoiler full. And so what happens? We start out with these United Nation officials going to a Krakoan
Oh, yeah.
embassy, and they're met by the Stepford Cuckoos. If you don't know who they are actually like kind of clones of Emma Frost, and they have psychic abilities. And then you
They
have
can
a
communicate with each
white and gray cladded Magneto
Yeah.
who looks fucking baller. And so one of the officials has a gun on him. And the Stepford Cuckoos lets Magneto know that happens. And the official says, I wasn't going to use it. It was only for protection. And Magneto says, of course, that's how it always starts. No, some would be offended at a wolf presenting itself as a sheep, but I've learned hard lessons from your kind, so I know the truth. You are all wolves. And I say this. I
can't do it, but doing Tom's finger thing.
That's the scene where the sun's behind him.
Yeah,
And he's like,
it's-
it's so dope.
And it's so gangster. And I say this. I've been standing on Magneto all this time because
He
this
has.
motherfucker been through it. He's seen the worst in humankind and has never forgotten those lessons. And to me, I'm like, yo, I'm Magneto all day. All day. Charles, it's cute, it's sweet, but you gotta recognize who
both.
you are
Yeah.
in the grand cosmos of things, and you should be respected for that. And it's like, we can coexist, but you understand where your place is. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's Magneto. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, so that's one of my first favorite parts. I pass the torch. Go ahead.
Yeah. Who's next? I'm enjoying all of this.
I
got plenty,
yeah,
so
Ollie.
don't worry about it.
my favorite issue I think is probably issue 3 of House, or issue 3, which is House, however
Yeah.
that is said.
Issue 3 of House.
Yeah,
House
just
X.
going through the different lines of Moira X was pretty fascinating.
The number 2.
Is
Number
it-
2.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think I'm looking at the collection
it's
and
all
it
a
calls
little
it 3.
timey-wimey.
This one.
Yeah,
2 of 6.
The Uncanny
2.
Life of Moira X is the title.
Yeah.
That I love that issue because it's like it blew my mind, and I hadn't really known anything about that character, and then meeting
So
Destiny, and
that was a
like-
huge deal because
yeah,
up until Hickman wrote this, Moira McTaggart has been a human who's basically in support, or assumed to be a human,
Yeah.
basically in
She was just
support of,
like a
of the X-Men.
geneticist.
She was
what I
in
thought.
love with Charles and that kind of stuff.
She was in New
So
Mutants.
This is huge
yeah.
in the X-Men world. This was like everyone freaked out that this character that's been around for 40, 50 years as a human is just like canonly now a mutant, and it works.
It's kind of like if Lois out of nowhere is like a descendant of a Kryptonian. It's
Yeah,
like, whoa,
and has always been.
whoa.
And it's believable that
yeah.
it was like maybe always there.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
did it in a way that he wrote it in a way that was just like, all right, let me find the cracks and it's almost poking fun at the continuity as well. It's using
Yeah.
that messy continuity that X-Men has always had.
it's kinda
to
like
be
what-
like, I'll explain it. Check this out.
It's like what Marcus and the writers for Endgame were like. You didn't like Age of Ultron and Dark War.
They're
We're going to make
important
those
now.
important now. It's
Yeah.
like, oh shit, babe.
Yeah.
But that led me to like what is actually my favorite moment in this comic, which is in issue 5. It's the comic where it's the issue where you're going through and you're following Nimrod and Apocalypse and they're fighting, and it's in the far future, and then you just get to that moment where you realized, oh shit,
They're not gonna make it.
you know, this is what you do or whatever. And she takes it, and that's her life there, and then she starts the next life
with
like
Wolverine.
Yeah.
that. What's that? With
They
Wolverine.
wake her up essentially.
Yeah.
And they're just like, here's the info.
Yeah.
Bye.
Go die.
I was like, that's heavy.
And also, it's a big deal to see Apocalypse like fail
Yeah.
because
There's
go ahead.
question to that. There's question to that because in comic books, he has gone against like Thors, not Thor, Thors,
Yeah.
several Thors, and like whooped ass. And so
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh.
is he really that strong, Nimrod? But you know, again, this you
I
have
think
to.
that's the point.
it's
Yeah.
the,
And
yeah, I
that's
think
the-
that's
and
to
that-
show that.
Yeah, and that's cool because you take a character whose fucking name is Nimrod
Yeah.
and make
Yeah.
him like
I
gangster
had
as
never
shit.
encountered that character before.
Days of
And
Future
so
Past, baby. Yeah.
I learned a lot about like mother molds and all this stuff. And then
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah.
this is really fascinating.
That was one of my
I'm
the Moira
surprised-
thing was one of my favorite moments in this thing here.
Ollie, I'm surprised that one of your favorite parts weren't the diagrams explaining like the technarchs and
they
the
were.
fucking. I was
And
like,
the language.
I'm
and-
in love with all the like interstitials between chapters on this,
I
like
saw
all
that
the
and I was like-
infographics. That's what I kind of meant by like it's sort of like a new Bible where you can reference all these charts, and like they basically mapped out X-Men for the next 1,000 years, and then we get to play around inside that 1,000 years and
I was
whichever.
part of a Discord community that was decoding the there's a message in the back of every single
Oh yeah,
What?
comic. There's a message in the back that hints at what's next. And I remember the one that the Discord finally figured out was about introducing, and it said up next. What was it? Oh my
I
God.
know, you're the
Anyway,
one
it
bringing
was
it up.
wild. It was wild to be a part of this. People trying to figure out the Krakoan, because there's a Krakoan message in the back of every single issue. And I think by like issue 4 or 5, they had figured out that, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name right now.
Apocalypse.
No, where there's like 12 of him, and they made him crazy in this, and he's usually
Oh, Sinister.
Essex.
Sinister. Yeah.
sinister. Yeah, it said up next something sinister, and people were like, "What? Mr. Sinister's coming to this?" And then the way that they did him, I'm in love with forever now.
Well, I was gonna say every time they had the little information blog, I was like, oh, add this to my grimoire. This feels just like Destiny.
I love like the like
Yep.
I'm looking at the apocalypse thing with like the 4 horsemen and who's what, and being like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is great reference material.
And like Magneto, but not Magneto. It's like a anyway.
Yeah, it's a
I want
genetic
to
hybrid.
kind of add on to like Ollie, like your part of your favorite part. There are a few scenes within that I really, really loved. Like I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name. The guy that has the mask and she removes it.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah. He's really
Blue's Ghost
explosive.
Rider.
And it's the singularity and like just that whole full spread of an explosion. But then a few pages later, when Wolverine goes to wake Moira and he's force feeding the information to her, and this ends her her 9th life. It was the artwork, because if you look at Wolverine and you look at the singe marks, it looks like the artist actually just used their thumbprint, and it was really it was just a really cool detail of like the singe marks are fingerprints.
Oh, cool.
And it's
a cool use of their tools.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I saw that, I just reread it and just kept looking at it, and I was like, wow, that is so cool.
That's dope.
And the end of that scene, it's like the silhouette and the colors and the light, like he's killing Moira, but it's a really cool looking cell.
Oh man.
But and then the whole mother mold sequence of like the destruction and just everything and the weight of everything that happens during that, and characters disintegrating, and like
The moment between, one of my favorite things I wrote down was the moment between Wolverine and Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
It's a friendship that I've always loved within, that's canon, that these two guys who seemingly should not be best friends somehow understand each other more than anyone else. And so this moment of this creature who has been called a demon, whose faith is stronger than pretty much anything or anyone, and always finds the positive within things, is best friends with this immortal who's never had to face death in a sense. And he's just having this thing like, do you think there'll be a spot for me on the other side? And he's just going, you know what? I'll be there waiting for you. Like,
When
it's
you wake
such
from this earthly slumber.
Yeah, it's such a sweet moment. And Tom and everyone here knows this, that Nightcrawler is one of my favorite characters. So this really powerful, at the time, again, not knowing what was in store in the next comics, watching these two characters who I love dearly, obviously I'm wearing a Wolverine shirt right now, die but have this moment together was really, really cool. And how they did it too, like teleporting out there, knowing that it's just like, oh.
Yeah. There it reminds me of, there's a moment, I forget what saga it was. I think it's Hickman Avengers, where they're fighting Beyonders, and Beyonders are like fucking killing celestial beings like Eternity and the Living Tribunal, and Hyperion and Thor are like going in, and they see them. They're on the edge of their universe, seeing another universe end, and then like they're like both like now bromancy. And then Hyperion's kind of this young dude who's like, I don't know what to do. And then at the end of the adventure, they're like bros. They're like there. And then Hyperion says, I'll see you in Valhalla. And then Thor says, he says like, sir or son or something. He's like, I'll race you there. And they and then like a giant black hole explosion happens. And it's like the really well done deaths are super cool, especially when they're done in camaraderie and not like I'm a leaf in the wind kind of bullshit. Because those are stupid ones where it's like, yeah, it served a purpose and they died for the cause, which was great. And they had a warrior's death and it feels good.
And it was their choice.
But
in a sense.
Probably my favorite like dialogue between two characters is just before everybody's prepping to go to the Mother Mold, this mission, and Wolverine's kind of like he's speaking about the humans and all that kind of stuff, and Jean Grey says, they're not soldiers in the war, Logan, they're just scientists. And Wolverine's response is, just scientists, huh? How exactly do you think humans went from sticks to bombs? Just like, and then end scene.
Yep. Caitlin?
Pretty much everything with Moira's storyline.
Yeah.
because she basically fixed a lot of the problems I have with comic books. Like that actually made me like X-Men more because it filled in
Made me like X-Men more,
the thing I've talked about in the past where like anime people are always like, oh, I'm going to make my like alternate universe of this. And I feel like that's what comic books are. It's just like you have your main characters and everything, but it's basically just constantly throwing them in alternate universes. And it's just like those are self-contained stories. They don't actually affect, but maybe they do, but maybe they don't. But I don't know, whatever. It's comic books. Like this was a time where it was like, no, they're all alternate universes, but they're all part of the same overarching through line. And that's kind of what fixed comic books for me. Because not to say that those things don't have merit on their own. I'm just saying that's what speaks for me personally of like,
It was like an explanation, so to speak.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
explanation for all of these.
For those, here's one of these like fan servicey type of things that I was talking about. When it explains what you're talking about, the different timelines, it even says so with comic book covers for each era. So you have the first iteration of X-Men,
Giant
and then the
size.
middle is the Claremont, giant size X-Men, and then it's the Dark Phoenix, where Cyclops is the Phoenix, the last 10 years, and it says the dark era. But in that sense, like seeing that page and seeing that like the history laid out for you is pretty fucking cool.
I don't want to burst your bubble, Kaylin, but the several comic books that
But
happen
you're
after
gonna.
this are all different people. So the thing is, like the cool thing that happens with this, it's like it tries to bring it all into like one root, and then it's still going to branch out to several trees.
Right.
And I think what you really, to combat like comic book, not fatigue, but more of a, where do I start? How do I consolidate with what I don't know? When you follow one artist or one writer, that really helps. So like Batman specifically had a long run with Tom King. Issues 1 through 85 are all one writer. And so
One
it's
story,
super
one
contained
universe.
to that thing. And then if you follow Justice League from issue 1 till like 60 or something like that, it's like all Scott Snyder. So it's like
Right.
there was other things. When you it kind of like hops in between, it does get a little messy.
Yeah,
and newer
the
comic books
issue
are
with
definitely
what we
trying
do
to figure out.
as a podcast too makes it seem like comic books are quite messier than we are, because last X-Men we read was from 1983, 1984.
Right.
So yeah. But yeah, this definitely, but out of all the things, X-Men has had the messiest continuity of all. So this is definitely a nice way to ground
Bring
it
it all
and be
together.
like, it wasn't crazy.
Well, I mean, the cool thing
Yeah.
is that what it does, it tells you what you need to know to kind of have a continued story of it. And there's enough patterns that humans could recognize, like, that's a son, that's a daughter, that's a wife. They show that Cyclops and Jean Grey are, I guess, not in a relationship per se, not explicitly, but they're on good terms. Whereas she's died, she was cloned. Their clone child became Cable, and then a daughter from another timeline went to go save Cable, and then Emma Frost was a dating thing, and then Jean Grey came back, and then Cyclops and them were dating. Now there's Jean Grey, there's Cyclops, there's Cable, and there's what's her name? Hope Summers. And so it's like that's the Brady Bunch
Like you went
family
to
of
a
the Summers family.
whiteboard and went. Now
like,
it's this.
We just have the
And
family.
technically-
We don't need
and
to say
technically
where
Logan,
it
if
came
you
from.
want to get in that, Tom, if you want to get into the
Aftermath
love
stuff?
triangle that
Oh,
is
no.
Cyclops,
There's a lot that can go in.
Wolverine, and
It's-
Jean Grey.
It's interesting too because they have where there was two Cables in the universe, where there was old man Cable, where we see him with the gray hair, and there's young boy Cable with the brown hair and the white streak, and they just kept the young one because the young one killed the old one because the old one pretty much just became plot point device. Anyways, one of my other
Yeah, go ahead. No,
I
go
was-
for it.
After the Master Mother Mold mission, Xavier. Also, real quick, I at first hated how he looked like, because he looks so much like the Master from the Ultimate Universe. And whoever doesn't know what that is, it's Reed Richards in the Ultimate Universe where Miles Morales comes from. So it's pretty much like an alternate take of what Marvel is. The Ultimate Universe was actually created to be like, if this exists in the real world, how would it look like? And so when characters die there, they die forever. Like Tony Stark wasn't like, I'm going to wait till I'm 35 and an alcoholic to become a hero. He's like, I've been making shit, baby. I made an Iron Man suit when I was 17. Like that's how that universe works. And the Master Reed Richards is a bad guy. And so like when I saw Xavier be like that, I'm like, I don't trust. I have no trust around this man.
I don't trust.
But the point that I want to bring up is one of my favorites is after the Master Mold mission,
Where they
see
explode.
there is a nice no more. But Xavier says, every victory, Ash, every triumph, defeat. They've murdered us, so many of us. The world has grown used to it. This is just how things are for those people, for mutants. And then he looks down the ground and says, no more. And it's like, oh! You know, at what point do the mutants say, man, fuck y'all. We doing our own thing. And this was that moment you're like, you're so justified.
Wow, how contemporary.
How on time.
Another one of my favorite moments, and I think I like ran to my phone to text Tom about this because I, being an X-Men fan, I like Cyclops. Never been my favorite. I always felt kind of how Wolverine feels about Cyclops from like fucking Boy Scout.
With
like,
the stick up his ass.
Let's do this.
Right.
Like, let's be a little more interesting. So there's this moment where the Fantastic Four capture
Sabretooth.
Sabretooth,
Right.
thank you. I was trying to think of his real name. And they're going to take him in to be tried. And Cyclops shows up and he's like, hey, you know, we have immunity essentially because we're a new nation. That's the agreement we have. So we're just going to take him. And Reed Richards is like, no, he like killed a bunch of people and tried to steal our data. So
No,
we're going to
sir.
go ahead and take him. And then there's this tense moment where they're just kind of standing and looking at each other. And Cyclops is just having this like, is it worth it kind of moment. And then he goes, okay. And he has this little gleam in his visor where he's like, all right, fair enough. We'll get him anyway. Anyway, tell your son that there's a place for him to call home when he's ready. And it's just this like big fuck you because Sue Storm's and Reed Richards' son is a mutant.
Franklin.
Yeah. And he's an Omega mutant as well. And so, or is he now? Yes, he is.
He for sure
He's like the
is.
Omega mutant. So having that kind of like, yeah, you win. Also tell your kid that his family's waiting is this coolest Cyclops has ever been for me. And this
Yeah.
entire series, well, I was like, Cyclops is legit right now. Like
mean,
this is the one I want.
I mean, I want to say this. I feel like you're not selling it enough because it was like there was super tense, and then all of a sudden, so I was like, all right, man. It was like
Yeah,
so like oh fuck. Like okay, I'll tell you everyone right now. If y'all
I
sleep
thought they
on,
were gonna fucking fight.
if you sleep on Cyclops, this motherfucker, his eyes aren't beams. His eyes
No.
are portals to an energy dimension.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so like
Huh.
toppling fucking like continents is like probably an easy feat
I
for
remember
this
when
dude.
Tom explained that to me because I didn't know that. I was like, they're laser
Yeah.
beams.
I did not
That's
know
what's
either.
going
I
on.
thought-
And he
I thought
explained,
he
no.
had just little laser eyes.
Oh,
In my honest opinion, he could take out the Fantastic Four like that.
easy. If everyone and there was a comic book that
Yes.
happened, it was Avengers versus X-Men, and it's like X-Men would destroy them. What are you fucking talking
Yeah.
about? Like, not one of these Avengers are telepaths.
No.
Like, shut down, done. And
So
then-
it's a big moment to see this guy who could just be like, I could do what I want. Just be like, it's fine. And they just send Emma Frost to go.
be legal
And then the
about it. And
trial.
that moment, and that
Yeah.
moment was
Trial,
fucking dope
like-
too.
Yeah.
How
Like
about
Yeah.
the,
She
the
just walks in
X-Men
and is like,
actual trial?
The how we're gonna judge it, be judge and
Oh.
jury and executioner for this.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna say just
The
when
Silent Council.
yeah,
That's
well,
what it's
I-
called.
the Quiet Council.
Sorry, thank you.
I loved it
in
when
fucking
Emma,
Lothlorien,
when-
basically.
I loved it like Emma Frost bringing Creed back, and then there's that one agent who has her weapon trained on Emma Frost. Is like, I'm gonna let you pretend that you could have stopped me, and I'm gonna walk away from this. It's like, oh, what? Like that is some big dick energy or big
Yeah.
clit energy for the women. You know what I'm saying? That's
Like,
that's
well, Emma
wonderful.
Frost can do that. She's terrifying.
She-
out of all the villains in the X-Men universe, she is like top 2 for me. Like,
She is like the number
scares the shit out of
3
me.
in terms of telepathy.
yeah.
And so it's like I you know like and so and plus she's like so cool and badass. But so wait, let's talk about the Quiet Council.
Yeah, okay. So this is a big moment as far as like X-Men fans go. Seeing Apocalypse
Part of
team
that shit.
up and like willingly like they're like, I need you to say it. I need you to say
Well,
the like,
first-
we're part of this.
Well,
and-
first when he first comes in, and then he's like, why would I go against you? You have finally become what I've always wanted you. I was like, hell yeah, motherfucker!
Daddy approves. Daddy
And I was
approves.
And so they're like, "Are we cool?" And he
It
says,
actually
"He
felt
says
a
the
little
like, I'm
bittersweet
in."
at that moment, but it was good. I'm sorry, Corey, go ahead.
No. That's exactly it. Like it was dope to see like it's so exciting to see Magneto and Charles pair up. It's not the first time, but this is the most in-depth pair up, like on the same level. Like Magneto goes defer to Charles for things, which I can't remember ever reading. Like just go, Charles has this. But then to see Apocalypse come in and be like, yeah, let's all do this together. And everyone's like totally copacetic about it. And they gave Emma a spot. And like, it was that whole Quiet Council scene was just unreal for me. Like I literally had to keep picking my job off the floor so I could keep reading and not drool on my comics.
I also, one thing just to kind of talk about the world of Krakoa and how it's a mutant island, and
Cypher
fucking knows how to talk
coming
to
in.
it. But like also, I think this is an Ali point. To me, like this feels so perfect for like overworld. This is where your character spawns in. You get the missions from the fucking place where they were monitoring the Master Mold mission, where it's like Storm and I forget who else has to like control the water, and then it makes a face of Jean Grey and she tells him what's going on. And I was like, that's some fucking dope like technology
I would
shit.
100% play that MMO.
Right? And so
Yeah, and then speaking of Storm, like her checking all the clones and presenting them to the
Right,
mutants,
when they
being like,
were,
"This is your brother as you know him,"
reborn.
it was so cool.
The 5 and the whole resurrection sequence, like that was like
That was crazy.
I love
crazy.
the interpersonal between Cyclops and Storm, where it's like, I used to think I was the leader, and then I learned from you that I wasn't. And then she says, well, I also learned from you. And I was like, that's the thing where it's like, it's so cool to have all of the X people, all the mutants coalesce in one place, working towards their three rules, their laws of mutant kind. And so like if there are going to be issues, it's going to be within them, and it's really
Hickman
cool.
also did something really wonderful here, where he made some of the most underappreciated mutants like Gold Balls.
Yeah.
No one took him seriously before this. He made them the most important.
Yeah.
He was like,
They're
by the way,
part-
they control the fact that the mutants can survive.
Yeah. I also
Because they even explain it separately. They're like nothing. And no one knew
I
that the
make
gold
eggs.
balls. Yeah. Nobody knew they were eggs until this came. Like it's just,
unfertilized eggs. Yeah.
I loved it. I was like, this is brilliant. Like way to use a weakness as a strength.
I feel like the whole reincarnation scene, the thing that keeps popping up in my mind when I think about it is like what it must have felt like in the Star Trek universe when they first like did teleportation correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And because I mean, essentially, it blew my mind when I first heard about this. But like, you basically die and get rematerialized, and then just like basically remember who you were there. So this is taking that and going a step
well, not even
further.
there. Right before that.
Right. Like this is not going from ship to planet, planet to ship. This is like reality to reality.
I studied that actually in my philosophy
Some
classes.
prestige type shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was called is it physical continuity or psychological continuity? Which one actually differs of who are you really? Because if you think about it, if it's physical, like after like 40 or some years, the cells in your body are completely different than the ones that you were born with. So like, are you still you or are you a different person? But it's like, if you took your brain and put it into another person's body, are you still you or are you, like
A different
at what
person.
line are you not you anymore?
where's that? Yeah.
Can we also just appreciate a mobile Cerebro for a second?
I want to say this. I loved
His
the
little
conversation he had
VR
with
headset.
Forge.
Yeah.
And he was saying like, combined it with, what was the alien race that they hang out with all the time? The one that
Oh, the
Xavier...
blue dude.
The Xavier always has like sexual relations with one of the girls.
Oh.
It's
I know what
that
you're
alien
talking
race.
about. Yeah.
And so like,
I can't think of the
so
name
Forge
right
is
now.
like, you can't do this. You can't copy everyone's brains and make backups, and it has to be of every week. It has to everything in their lives and all that stuff. And it's like, there's no human technology that could do that. And he's like, but this kind of technology does exist. So it was like Shi'ar technology.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh, this is going to be cool.
It kind of
It's
makes you wonder
brilliant.
how many like backup hard drives he's got, like sitting in a closet somewhere.
It also sets it up for like, what if someone finds it? What if
Yeah.
someone finds it and then starts implementing these drones or droids,
Or making changes to the memories.
or making changes to memories, or bringing back bringing back evil Cyclops? Bringing back
Dark Phoenix.
yeah, like
Bring it
when
back.
Xavier was like no powers, and it was like, what do you do in those moments? So it does a lot of cool things. Another specific thing that I want to bring up is
Rasputin.
at the very this is like a specific lineage.
Sorry.
At the very end, practically when the five have resurrected the people who died, nations are now starting to recognize Krakoa. Xavier and Magneto take a moment to kind of just take in the moment, and they're seeing the fireworks and the celebration, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
Magneto says some dope ass shit.
yeah, and it's pretty much like Xavier's like, this is the start, and then but we have to do more and hope that things will just follow suit. And pretty much Xavier's like, if I die, what will you do? And it's pretty much like, what's going to happen? Are we going to continue this journey together? And Magneto's like, then I will die for it. And if I fall, then you will raise me up, and I will show this world what a real mutant is. And then Xavier says, keep talking like that. You're gonna be sure to elicit a response. And then Magneto, in fucking big dick energy's got, is like, I am not ashamed of what I am. Let them try to stop us this time. And then Xavier echoes that shit and says, yes, let them try. And it's like, oh my God, they are not.
That's a big moment.
It's like, to me, again, it's like Xavier and Magneto, like the fact that Magneto is the more coarse person and will take more physical action.
Common goal, but different.
Yeah, and
means.
Xavier's always been like peace and harmony. And it's like, they both understand, it's like, you have to talk softly, but still carry a fucking big stick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that wonderful.
It's, the benefit of Moira knowing Charles and being able to pass all her memories on to not only him but Magneto as well. Those pages.
I was gonna say that was gonna be
Magneto
my next.
just having that like flush of watching himself and him and Charles trying to save the mutants and fail repeatedly over and over and over and over again, no matter what they do.
That was gonna be my next
There's a
favorite part.
beautiful page.
Is
Yeah.
any time that she is revealing something and their reactions of like, oh damn,
Oh shit.
yeah.
Yeah. Like I can't even imagine what that would feel like to just watch all of that and have that in your brain all of a sudden. It's very exciting to see the X-Men be on top for once. Like it's so bizarre, and at the same time you're just like, this feels right.
I'm going to also jump on the why they're on top. So Krakoa seeds, they developed a drug that will literally eliminate any type of disease known to man overnight. And so in order to be recognized by United Nations, they have to have some kind of trade. And I really like that. I forget which council, but it's the one that Emma Frost and Sebastian Shaw have. And I'm not going to spoil who the third member is, because you'll find that out in Marauders of them. They're mainly created so they can do black market fucking drugs.
Yeah.
And bring these drugs to other nations to influence them.
And the
I was
drugs
like,
do different things for mutants than they do for humans,
yeah,
which is cool.
And I was like, this is Civilization. Like, I've played Civilization so many times, like, this is literally what you do. You get involved in the city-states, and the moment someone goes to war with you, all your city-states come out and fucking help you fight. But also, it's just like this, one of my favorite fucking lines is it goes through all of the world where Xavier is talking to them telepathically. And he says, like, what have you done? And he says, like, hey, everyone, announce to the world, we have these drugs, and these drugs will make your life better. And a long time ago, I would have given you this freely. And because all I wanted you to do was love me. All I wanted to do was love you in return. But you slowly made me realize that that was a lie. And so too, all your dreams will fall and all that stuff. So while you slept, you thought you would wake up and the world would be the same. But when you slept, you woke up and the world had changed. And I was just like, it was the most bonery moment I've had in such a long time for like reading comic books. I was like, God, like, it's so good. It's
the other thing I want to bring up is the basically hybrid mutants from Powers of 10, like Rasputin, who is a mix of Colossus,
magic,
and Nightcrawler. which is
So AKA super pacifist.
the cool. Well, she's no, not him.
Oh, okay.
Rasputin, the girl,
The girl, yeah.
because she can create portals as well.
Yeah.
Is the coolest mix of like I that was probably one of my favorite things to emerge from this was the character of Rasputin. Just seeing magic and Colossus in one badass mutant was really, really cool. And the theory behind like the diminishing returns almost on these hybrid mutants they were trying to create in order to protect the world. I just really dug that storyline. And then the super pacifist Nightcrawler.
Yeah, I liked how it was a little like eugenics-y, where it's like My Hero Academia with Todoroki, right? And so like you do sometimes get really good turnout where it's like these are really great powers to have, but then quote unquote the offside is like you can't have these omega powered mutants who are just monster machines. You'll have Rasputin who's dope as fuck, but then you'll have the priest guy who's like, I don't fight. Yeah, so it's very interesting.
There's like support class essentially.
Yeah. Forced.
We can go one more round of favorite
Yeah, yeah.
parts. I think we got to go to characters soon, and then
Okay.
Yes.
I got
one
one. I got
more.
one more. I'll
ahead,
do
go
mine
ahead.
last.
And
I'm done. Go ahead.
It's more of at the end of the version that I have from Comixology. I don't know if it's in the hardback version of the full collection.
I'll tell you.
They have variants, and I love the Scotty Young variants. They're kind of in the style. They're almost chibi.
They're like Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah, Calvin and
Yeah.
Hobbes. Thank you. But it's really they're really. I'm going to say
Those
this word.
sold
They're
really
cute.
quick. I barely saw those.
Yeah.
They're really
Unfortunately,
neat
I
and
wanted one.
a lot of fun. But I really dug those and all the variants that are in the back. Like, my God, so
the
good.
variants I would want are the ones that have all of Cyclops throughout the ages, all of Jean Grey throughout the ages. Like,
There was also some really cool variants I wanted that looked like 90s toys box art.
Oh,
Did you see those?
yeah.
There was a Nightcrawler one I really wanted, but they didn't send it to my comic book shop. So thanks, Marvel.
thanks.
More like thanks Diamond Comics distributors.
Yeah, I mean, like Tom said, I could go on and on and on. But
We can
another
all
thing
go.
that that really stuck out to me was the Mr. Sinister scene and getting the different personality. I thought this was the greatest take on that character. It made me the most interested. I'll say that. Kind of just out of his mind, kind of does whatever he wants. And this one Mr. Sinister is like, no, I'm not going to help you. And then just gets his brains fucking blown
Blasted.
out by the other Mr. Sinister. And he's like, actually, I want to help. So I'm in charge now. And I was like, this is magical.
And they're
This is-
all autonomous. And
Yeah.
they all have hive mindy where like if one dies, someone just knows to like rise up. But one of my favorite parts of that is, why do you have a cape? It's so and then the other was like, I love this cape. And then he
Yeah.
has the cape. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God.
It was such a great, it was a nice, because like, this is a very serious, heavy comic in that sense. It's very exciting. It's very new, but it's a lot of like
Characters can be
comeuppance
characters.
for what, characters can be characters. So it was a nice little comedic relief, refreshing scene, especially from a character I didn't expect it to be a comedic relief from. And just playing into that, he's this guy
He's a mad
who
scientist.
plays with bioengineering and cloning, and then, seeing Charles and Magneto, who would never purposefully really work with him on this degree, just be like, yo, we need you. And if trust is broken, that's going to fucking suck for you because you're working for us now. And he was like, great, sounds good. And to see it pan out was
I've
chef's kiss.
question
Yeah.
for the uncultured. I've only ever seen Sinister, like just seen him in pictures and whatnot.
Mhm.
Is he like a major villain? Like,
So he was like a normal dude and he was obsessed with genetics and he wanted to try to create the ultimate mutant. And he's the actually reason why Cable is born, because when Jean Grey died, he created the clone of Jean Grey because he wanted Cyclops and Jean Grey to have a child. And he told Apocalypse about that. And so when Apocalypse found out about that, he infected Cable with the techno-organic virus. But what Apocalypse also did was change Sinister's genetics and turned him into like the little vampire motherfucker he looks like.
Yeah.
So
The Apocalypse is also the reason you have two very different looking angels. You have Angel and Archangel. So Angel is the one with the white wings that's in the original
Blonde hair.
X-Men, and then you have Archangel, who's like the blue face with the metal wings and stuff like that, and he's one of the horsemen.
Yeah.
Because
I think he's Death.
Apocalypse can change your genetics.
He kind of like is
can
like
do that.
he kind of like is Galactus, where Galactus gives his herald cosmic
The
awareness.
angry
and,
cloud.
no, cosmic awareness and think like Aku, but comic books. And also cosmic powers, where Apocalypse is like, I'm just going to bring your power to the nth level of your mutant powers.
Pretty dope.
Favorite characters?
Oh fuck.
We'll do 3.
Oh wait,
Okay,
I have
Caleb.
one more favorite part.
One more favorite part.
When they were in the like farm, what was he called? The librarian. When the Phalanx are starting to do the ascension with their society.
They're pretty much in the zoo, the human zoo.
Yeah.
The
the
mutant
human zoo. And like the Phalanx are like the ascension is supposed to happen like the next day or something. And whoever their zookeeper is walks in and is basically like, I'm gonna tell you everything because I don't know how I feel about this whole ascension thing.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well-
I should be fine, but maybe it's fine if you know. It's no harm done, right? Like I don't know why, but I loved all of that of being like, I think I'm happy. This is what I wanted. This is the good, but maybe my perspective is wrong.
Well,
Also,
maybe I got
so
it
there's
wrong.
no harm.
it's a very bittersweet ending because it's 1,000 years in the future, or 10,000 years in the future, and
yeah,
to
it's
understand.
way out
Powers
there.
of 10, baby.
To understand that the final destiny, the fate point for all of life on Earth is to join a hive mind
Yeah.
sucks. Like the loss of individuality. Like humans were able to combine with sentinels and to ascend past this way, past natural evolution and create their own evolution, all for it to just be absorbed into something else that's not theirs, where it's not their own future anymore. It's cool because I remember the part where it's like Wolverine or Logan's like, why would they know anything about freedom? They've all lived here. It's like, I've been telling them about freedom all this time.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've been keeping it alive, baby. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Okay,
Yeah.
now favorite characters.
Okay.
I don't even know where to start.
3
man.
favorite
Three?
characters.
I got them.
Okay.
Let me write it down.
Okay, go ahead, Josh.
Got 'em.
I'm probably gonna be last.
My favorites are Magneto, Wolverine, and Moira.
Oh, you got the name right this time.
You son of a bitch.
It's not Mora, it's Moira.
No, those are characters like any scene that they are in is just a wonderful scene. But Moira this series and having her like, because I have read enough X-Men to know who Moira is, and then to have this happen where you're like, damn, it was just really cool to see her. I mean, Ollie already touched on it, but just her different lives and seeing that, how the different kind of, she's like, all right, maybe I'll try this version. Maybe I'll fuck some shit up this time. And then, okay, that doesn't work. Maybe I'll do this. And it was just cool. Like, it was really neat to see the unfolding of all of her different lives. And
I will say, I do hope she still has a relationship with Ronnie from
Ronnie.
Mutants.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So if she doesn't, then I'll be a little bit sad. But
I would too.
yeah, I mean, with Magneto, Magneto and Charles together is always like one of those things, that pairing that I'm like, yeah, they're the yin
It's like
and the
peanut butter
yang.
and jelly, baby.
And like this
Or
time I
peanut
was
butter
like,
and Oreos.
yes,
peanut butter and
Or
honey.
peanut butter and chocolate. Or
So.
peanut butter and more peanut butter.
yeah.
That's
peanut
just
butter
goes
and
they're,
peanut butter
they're a
sandwich.
little different than that. Peanut butter and Nutella.
Smooth peanut butter and chunky peanut butter.
Yeah,
Exactly. Who's next? Ali, Caitlin?
I don't know yet. I'm so sorry.
I think my favorite is gonna be Moira, and then Magneto, and then Charles. Because it was the most engaged I was with any kind of Charles Xavier story. It was really interesting, kind of seeing him make certain decisions and like dance that morality line, and it was just really well done for
Caitlin?
his character, I thought.
It's hard to pick.
It is hard.
But you have to do it. It's your fucking job.
Moira.
Wow.
Moira's like my number one. Like if we only had to pick one, it would have been just her. That's it. Fine with that.
I guess it's not
but
hard
since
then.
we're picking three,
That's it. I'm fine with that.
Emma Frost, I would say is my number two, just because like
She's a
just
badass.
fucking got her shit together. She's like, I could end all of you right now.
I mean,
but
she's been
I
having
have
her shit
politics
together.
playing in my side.
The White
and also I'm
Queen?
going to be in the black market. So
Yeah, I think you
Like-
you need to read more Emma
Marauder.
Frost stuff because you would.
You'd love
That's her.
Marauders.
That's her through and through. She's always just like, I got this shit.
I'm gonna
And
say
even when
this.
shit goes wrong, she's like, that's fine.
Without spoilers.
Yeah.
Marauders, you find out, Emma Frost, White Queen, you find out who the Red Queen is. Ooh! So
Yeah.
good.
oh,
The Red
I'd be
Queen.
about that. And then my number three, I'm pretty torn. I'm gonna say it's Apocalypse, just because, God, that was so fucking cool.
Oh yeah,
The
but-
part
just
but
coming in
I'm
and being like, this
just-
is how I've wanted. This is what I've wanted.
Yeah, this is what I wanted the
but
whole
also-
time.
but
Why didn't
also
you guys
when-
do this sooner?
when you find out in that timeline where he fights against Nimrod, and it's just like, that's a promise to you, for I will lead you. And it's like, oh shit, he's the
I
leader
know.
of the
He's so
X-Men.
fucking baller sometimes. But it like real close after that was Krakoa.
Oh yeah,
sense.
nice.
Like,
Do you know the origin of that character? It's an
No.
old character. Krakoa is not
Used to be a
new.
bad thing.
It used a living island, and it look like Google it after this. It's ridiculous. So this is just another shout out to Hickman to being like, oh, you thought that was a dumb character, did you? Okay.
Well, it's kind of like, I mean, they talk about it when they go and recruit Magneto, and then he takes Cypher in. He's like, why are we here? And it's like, this is like a bad place. Like, this used to be like a terrible place, but with your help, Cypher, you will learn to understand it. And he fucking dips out. He's like, you need anything? He's like, I guess not.
I need like 2 weeks, which is like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom?
I'll save you some time. So for me,
I got it now. I'm good now.
Magneto all day, every day.
Oh wow! Wait, let me register that shock.
I'm just saying.
I even text Tom. I was like, yo, Magneto all the way
Magneto.
now.
Magneto all
Yo.
day.
I was like, especially in real world after this week. I'm just
Magneto
like,
ain't wrong.
get it.
He ain't wrong. Second, how important Moira is to the story, she's almost a favorite, but I would have to pick Emma for
Okay.
that character. And then for the third character, Xavier. Because there is a moment that I got a little bit like chills in my spine when he said, "Rise, my mutants." And I was like, oh, is this evil?
My
He
X-Men.
looks so evil. like
He
Yes.
looks super evil, but he's
I
super
ate it
not.
up.
But the thing is, like, Magneto's in all white and Xavier's in all black. And I've been telling y'all, Xavier is the most duplicitous of all the fucking X-Men ever. He always got some fucked up plan in the background. Like, people give
Yeah.
Batman a lot of shit, but Xavier's like, well, I did plan on killing you guys and then having a new team take over. It's like, oh my God, what a fucking asshole. Like, that's Xavier's
Whereas-
shit to a T.
To shout out to Magneto, even in God Loves, he was like, my idea was always for you guys to succeed me. Like that was my plan,
Yeah.
was to create this world and have the X-Men take over. And I was like,
Yeah.
what?
I mean, the thing is I love about Magneto is actually like what I felt like how Zod was in Man of Steel, where he's like, no matter how cruel or how violent I was, it was always for the good of my people. And if I don't have any people, then I have no purpose. And it's like, I fucks with that shit hella hard. You know what I'm saying?
So for me,
This guy fucks.
favorite characters, got to be true to
Nightcrawler.
my roots. No, actually, in this one, Nightcrawler doesn't make the list.
I guess
it
you're not
was
true
one
to
of
your
my
roots then.
favorite. No, Charles over Magneto. Magneto
guess you're a liar.
is true to my roots.
Magneto.
Magneto.
He's super neato.
He's neato. This is my, like Tom said, this was like a very interesting and I think a really like out on a limb take on Charles. And I think it's something that all of X-Men has kind of been eventually leading to. But this was one of those things I said where it was one of those things I didn't know I needed, but Hickman was like, you need this. And I was like, oh my God, I did. Obviously Magneto comes in number 2 because fucking how dope is he in this
the
entire
master
run?
of magnetism.
I just love how sure he is in everything where he's at, and like being able to, and it's true to his roots of like he always just wants what's best for mutants, and from what he's seen, that is working in tandem with Charles and Apocalypse. So that's what I'm gonna do. that's what I'm
I
gonna
love
fucking
the
do, and they can try
realization
to stop me.
between him and Charles, and he says, every time. And it's just like, oh, fuck. Mutants die every time.
So yeah, I'm always a big fan of when Charles and Magneto team up, and this was like, again, chef's kiss. Like this is it, baby. And this one surprised me as my favorite in here. Cyclops comes in as my third favorite
Somehow
character.
I knew that was going to be it.
And it was surprising
This
for
is-
me.
This is the
because
best Cyclops.
I've never liked Cyclops. I love him as an X-Men, and don't get me wrong, like the strap and the fucking bomber jacket Cyclops from the animated series, so good. But I have always been in Team Wolverine, where I'm like, loosen the fuck up, dude. And shout out to James Marsden for playing it that way, because he killed it. But this was like, oh shit, this is what's up. Like Cyclops, because it was either Boy Scout or like, you're fucking crazy, dude. You're nuts.
Well,
calm the fuck down.
He's
He
very
became a
the
villain.
Leonardo. He's very Leonardo of the team, and that's like at his best, where he has to make the hard decisions, but he believes in the team. I think the best moment he has in there is during the Master Mold mission, where he says like, "How can you continue the mission?" It's like, we have to, and it's just like that's what he would do. He is the Boy
That's what's
Scout
up.
for Xavier and believes in Xavier's vision.
Yeah, and just like, I don't know. There's more to it. It made me go back and read a lot more Cyclops stuff recently, and was like, he's actually low key been like, I've been sleeping on him, and I apologize.
He's the one that starts Donovex, right?
Yes.
With him and his son, and they go to the other part of Krakoa, because not all of Krakoa is explored yet.
No, that is not. In the X-Men proper, it's his entire family and Wolverine on this little biodome, and it's really, 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 really cool. And I won't spoil anything for that because it's Cyclops. Cyclops is my third favorite.
Okay.
I just giggled a bunch because I just realized that. So Sabretooth, the Silent Council is like, you gotta sit in stasis.
Yeah.
That whole thing is basically being like, all right, Krakoa, you know what to do. And then Krakoa just like kind of stuffs Sabretooth in his armpit and is like, you live here now.
Yeah. yeah. Or in the back of the knee,
it's-
whatever it is.
It's a little bit of the evil genius with the hole
Just
in
puts
the
it under
floor.
his, like a piece of chewing
Yeah.
tobacco. Like it's whatever.
But
It's
like I just became hyper aware of the fact that like Krakoa's alive.
Yeah.
So he basically just
I'm
found
gonna
like
keep
a
you
skin
here.
fold and
Yeah.
stuck him in. It's
Yeah.
like you live.
Well, I
just-
always thought of it. I thought of it as the trees in Fangorn Forest when Merry
Right.
and Pippin, where it starts like just being like eating them, and then Treebeard's like, "Stop it!" and spits them back out. That's
But
kind of
where
that's
did
how
he
I
go?
envisioned it. I was
Yeah.
like, "That's terrible."
That's a less kind of
It's
gross
terrifying.
version of like
Yeah.
sticking someone in a skin fold to talk to him later.
It's what it is. All right.
So
Ratings?
qualms.
Oh yeah,
Qualms.
qualms. I'm like, did I just
We're
bury
done.
the lead a little bit?
So
What qualms do I
So
have?
Corey has none. Who's got qualms?
I don't.
I do.
I wish it was
tiny bit.
longer. I wish there was more House and Powers. I love the branch off stuff, and like obviously, like we've talked about, Marauders is fantastic. But I do wish that this was like 12 series each, not 12 altogether, because I thought this was fascinating.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know, could have dragged it out way too long.
Mhm.
So I have none.
Great things end.
It's
don't
hard for
really-
me to have any kind of qualms with it. The art is amazing. The writing's really well done. The story's like, I mean,
Corey's so
dare I
excited
say,
right now.
masterfully told. I mean, it's woven so well through like all the issues and the balance between Powers and House, and the back and forth was like really, really cool. Like,
To be
Corey's
fair,
just
again, this is like
hugging his
this is like a
comics with
filet
his
mignon
face.
of comic books, where this is like was released last year. We have not read anything that
right,
close.
which is so exciting. I think that's why Corey's so excited too. Is that it's like it's been a while since we've had a genuine reason to be like really excited about X-Men.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Kaylin?
a lot of people were really hyped
got
about
a-
Avengers vs. X-Men.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hickman is as I've learned, this has spawned me into reading a lot of Hickman stuff, and he's just like quality through and through. I don't
East of
think he
West,
lets.
baby.
Then I'll spin it. For me, who has had a good decade's worth of not the greatest X-Men encounters, this was like a beacon of hope.
Yeah. I agree. You got to check out Marauders.
me,
I'll just say 2 words: Captain Kitty.
I'm definitely going
That's
to check out Marauders.
It doesn't ruin too much.
Okay. Oh, I'll say
'Cause
this
it's on the-
also.
it's on the
like,
cover. It's on the cover.
If you
That
read
doesn't
like all
ruin
the
anything.
big shit, then it's like you'll see this kind of masterful stuff, but it's hard to kind of pull out something unless you're like really invested into it. Like I'm assuming Josh is with Spawn, where it's like the whole masterpiece is the fact that you're reading 100 issues of one thing, not just 12 of one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Caitlin?
Kaylin, yeah, what's your small thing?
My thing is just I like all of it was
Timing.
amazing. It's not a mole. It's more of just like
No, I said timing.
I like how everything. What?
I said timing, not mole. I think it was
Timing.
timing, right?
Oh, I thought you were. Yeah, timing. I thought you said tiny, so that
No,
was like, wait,
no,
no,
no.
not a mole. No.
Timing.
Don't
Yes,
say that about me.
timing was a bit of a trip up for me, just because like it was hard for me to keep track of what life of Moira we were on. Like everything came together really well, and it makes me want to reread it. But when I was first reading it, I was like, I feel like I'm tripping on this a little bit mentally of what timeline I'm in, because like I know it would be a very different experience if it was like chronological based on her lives. But that's the story I felt like I needed that through line. Like I had to do outside reading
The only thing they have is that graph that tells
Right.
you which
graph, yeah.
timeline is which. And if you're not referencing that, then it's
Right.
real easy to
It does
lost.
actually put up a
Yeah,
good point that
that-
they could probably benefit from doing a Moira like one shot where they just do all her lives. That'd be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. So that's kind of the like I remember there were a couple points where I was like, oh wait, no, okay, she's over here. We're on this life now. Like, okay. So it just, there were some gymnastics I feel like weren't necessary to do to keep track of where I was. Just like if I were reading any other book that had, winding timelines and everything, I've not had as much of that issue where I feel like stuttered for a minute to be like, wait, I have to go look at a graph now.
Yeah. It's also a
Like-
lot to keep track of, like 10 lives over
no, it's
12
definitely
issues.
a lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, that doesn't stop it from being really good still.
Josh?
I don't have a lot of qualms. The only qualm, like a kind of a semi-qualm, was that sometimes the interstitial content, like the texts and just
The graphs.
the descriptions and like paragraphs. I'll admit, like sometimes it was a lot to like, and it's almost like I'm a child. Like my attention span, it was like, no, give me the pictures.
Yeah.
What is
But
he?
I mean, it didn't pull away from it. I read it and it was fascinating. Like some of just like the filler information, so to speak. Like this is what this
The
is,
exposition.
almost like an index kind of thing.
I feel like on the opposite end, there's
Jonathan Hickman's very famous for those.
yeah. I feel like on the opposite end of
Infographics.
that, where like there are some people who are like a child and need a graph to fucking be explained to them. So it's like it plays on both ends, where it's like, I'm a child, give me the picture. I'm a child, I can't understand the picture. So it's like it's
Yeah.
interesting that it can go both ways with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's
And
it.
it's-
That's it for me.
yeah.
I mean, everything was
Hickman likes
wonderful.
to play with a lot of intellectually rich ideas.
Yes.
And in the other Hickman stuff that I've read with the graphs, it's I get it. It's a lot, but it's
Black Monday Murders literally
It's his-
deals with the
yeah.
stock market.
yeah.
So I'm like, thank you for this graft.
Yeah. It's a taste preference. That's what it is.
um,
It's a taste preference.
yeah. For me, none, not at all. No qualms. I'm the kind of again. I think historically in comic books, I have been the highest rated person typically.
Mhm.
So you don't
I know, I
like
just wanted to balance the scales.
yeah. Well, I'm just gonna say where it's like comic books. I get it. They're that kind of medium, and like it's very hard, I think, to mess up a comic book for me because it's like you have to do a really shit story, or it has to be just really terribly written. But if it's like well done, it's like cool, and it's like it's reading. You're enriching things by you're putting your own mental things in there. So like
You're reading.
I feel like books, definitely could always go higher than movies will ever be because movies have to like literally frame by frame tell you everything. Where books, it's like, oh, I get to infer certain things into there. and then your own experience gets to be elevated by that. So
That's why people are always disappointed by movie adaptations, because it wasn't how they thought it was in their own heads.
So what you got to do is shitty stories for movies, and then
Or
they become
originals, or original
Great.
stories.
or just do the
no.
call it a Marvel thing and then actually not have any of the story be it.
Ratings.
Ratings.
So-
Yep, there it is.
So it's me and Ali first. Ali, go ahead.
I'm gonna give it a 4.8
Ooh,
go alphabetical here.
Just
maybe
4.8?
I was
just
wrong.
because I did have to, a little bit like Halen, I had to look up a few things, which isn't any fault of anybody, but for it being a reset, I just kind of wanted to not have to do that as much. But I know I have a lot of catching up to do, so it didn't take away from it for me. But
Yeah.
More
I guess
growth.
reset's not the right word, right? Because it's not a
guess not,
reset
yeah.
as it is
But
a
even, like,
it's an
Marvel
organized-
doesn't
it's
reset.
like
Vacation almost.
it's like taking a bunch of papers and like shuffling them back into a stack
It's-
and being like,
yeah.
"This was a mess. I'm sorry."
but just a couple like we were talking about Sinister earlier. Like I was confused what was happening at first. I was like, wait, what happened? And then I realized there was a second of him.
In
Yeah.
And then-
in Comixology, they say Jonathan Hickman reshapes the X-Men.
there you go. That's
But
a good way to do it.
Marvel's so fucking up their ass. They're like, we're never gonna reboot anything. It's like, cool. Have fun with your audiences that can't fucking keep up.
This is their way of getting around that comment. 4.8 for Ali. All right. Obviously, I'm a 5. Clearly, this is
wow,
up,
what? Oh, what? Whoa.
this is up there with the greatest comic books I've ever read.
Okay, hold on, Kaylin. You don't get to say, oh, what, whatever in that sense, and then be mad that I pick you to be the grump. You were literally confirming exactly what I said.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, this is obviously I'm a little biased when it comes to X-Men, but also I feel like I have a stake in it as far as knowledge, not quite as much as Dr. Barry has, but as someone who's followed these characters for most of my life, this is the best story I've written.
And
Read.
you've written.
I wish I wrote it.
Whoa.
Mr. Hickman?
But I think the cool thing to Corey's point is that each character feels super like true to their like most high, like their most baser instinct and their form.
Yeah.
Like what Nightcrawler
At a fundamental
is,
level.
who Wolverine is. All the while you're doing something, a big fucking hat trick, you know?
Yeah. And making it made a lot of things that were not important the most important, such as those X-Men, such as Moira McTaggart. Like Moira McTaggart being the catalyst for saving the X-Men and being a mutant was like my mind exploded. I had to close it and like set it down and go, I have to go for a walk for a little bit. That was too much.
I need to process this.
It's a funny thing because it's kind of like as much as we love Hugh Jackman and as Wolverine in the X-Men films, like that is so not what Wolverine's about.
No.
Like he's never the hero.
That's
and so
their
it's like,
run.
why?
And so
Yeah.
with this, it's like, oh, this is the true, blue true to the character's line where it's like Wolverine would act like this. He's not the fucking leader, like
No,
but
that's
he's
Cyclops.
he's the kamikaze kind of guy who would just go in balls first. So it's like, all right,
Yeah.
I feel like that
And
takes
just
some doing.
paying homage to a lot of, rewarding a lot of long-term fans. And hats off to someone who can make a very good argument for Charles, Eric, and Apocalypse to team up peacefully. I'm impressed by that.
Side note, did everyone know that Eric Lencher is not Magneto's real first name?
No.
Didn't
And,
even know that
you
was
know,
his name.
Or did I?
Do you know that he typically is called Magnus because his real name is Max Eisenhart?
I didn't know it was Max, but I didn't know
Max
that's where Magnus
Eisenhower.
came
Didn't
from.
know that either.
And then he went
The more
by
you
Magnus, and then he went by Eric Lencher. And so in the movies when they went Eric Lencher, I'm like, And so when you
Speaking of
when you
which,
read comics,
I just watched the scene in the bar from, I think it's Days of Future Past.
oh wait,
Is
no,
it?
it's first class with the
Is it first class?
Schweinebauer.
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
it is the best X-Men scene of all time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this.
With the two old Nazis where he's like, all right, let's do this.
I'm
Okay,
schneiden.
so that's, I give it a 5. So next is Josh.
5.
All right. 5. There we go.
Why I didn't pick Josh?
Kaylin, what you got?
Here's a big hand. Here's a big.
4.9.
Oh, God bless.
Twist Ollie,
bless.
accent free.
I like how
Tom
you
was
just
Tom.
go. It's. I like how you just immediately. It's Ollie because it's not Tom. Because
Yeah.
it's not Tom. It's half of powers of 10. So powers of 5.
Yeah.
Oh.
We
For a
are
second, my brain
4.8
went-
Grump. 4.8 Grump with Ollie. Nerd on Nation. No one gets a shot.
Oh no.
Nobody
But
gets
thank you for
all
your
the-
vote.
I don't think. Wait, I could be lying. I just didn't write down.
Nerd on Nation. Good tip. Comic books. Don't
Let's
pick
see.
me.
Nope, no one voted for Ollie.
Wow.
It was you guys, and then someone voted for Josh.
If it's
I mean, I
comic
can
books
see
or not Disney,
it's
pick
comic
Ollie.
books, but there's a character named Destiny
Yes. Oh,
in there, and there's like this miracle
Wow.
planet that comes in with all the cures for humanity.
I
So like
loved
it's
it.
basically Destiny.
except
So I
there's
can see why
not
they
a.
wouldn't pick
Well,
Ollie.
there's actually there's not 2 hours of a wallpaper moving for no reason, and
This is-
there's not
this
a
is-
giant orb that hasn't done
Ollie's
anything for the
like,
last
"Oh,
few
fuck
This
seasons.
is what I'll say. I'll say this.
You all.
Ollie.
And
Ollie,
there
if
isn't,
this-
they haven't
that a
taken
knock
away
at
the
the
year
Destiny
one.
live event
They,
where
they haven't taken a lot of the year one content away and say we're going to make new stuff. And so, it's
I'll
fine.
say this.
They haven't taken away all the speedrun stuff anyway, so it's okay.
What would you say, Corey?
To Ollie, if in the X-Men universe, if this wasn't a 5, there is no pleasing you, Mr. Powers. This is it. This is the height of X-Men.
Okay,
so
this
maybe
is- this is-
X-Men's
yeah.
not your bag.
That's what I'll also say. It's like we did this
no,
with
I
My
mean,
Hero Academia.
it's Tom's onto something. It's the comic sort of.
It's medium.
I'm not. Yeah,
It's the medium.
I'm not as
It's-
experienced with
This
comic books,
this
so
is
it's not.
this is the magnum opus. This is the Magnus opus of X-Men. I mean, try Marauders.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
that actually might play
Well,
into.
I mean,
and I'll have
also,
some
like,
backstory.
We've done Watchmen. We've done some big fucking titles and stuff like that. Like maybe your preferred method of comic book ingestion is probably going to be the audiobooks, or not the audiobooks, but the visual comic books where they have voice acting and moving and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't
Maybe-
mean you can't enjoy this for as much as you can. So
but 4.8 is still very high.
It's still
Yeah.
pretty.
Oh,
Guys,
It's my favorite
4.8.
X-Men
I wanted
comic.
to-
If that is
Wait,
worth
Caleb?
anything,
Kayla,
I don't have
bring
anything
up-
higher than it on my scale. But I
that's fair.
I
You did
think
nothing higher on your scale
there's.
than a 4.8.
I know there's room for more enjoyment with a bolstered knowledge base going
This is a
into
great jumping off
That's
the
fair.
point.
next.
Marauders.
Yeah.
If you
So
mean
maybe
if you read
more.
Marauders, you text me. Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of the thing about like rating too, is that like you can have a score right now, but you could take in more information and appreciate it in a different way and then view it as a 5 later on. Or
Yeah.
you can
you could be wrong right now.
come across something else
Wow.
like, wow, Tom.
That's what it is. That's
Wow.
literally what you're saying. Is like if you get more information, you could change your perspective and you could like it more later, which means that you would be wrong in your past time.
oh, Tom, you and your
I follow that
awareness.
logic. But anyway, what were you gonna say, Caitlin?
I wanted to talk about the thing I was talking about with that it made me sad
Yeah.
a little bit just because like I was reading this at the height of the Black Lives Matter
Movement.
everything the whole
Everything, yeah.
thing that was happening when things were really bad, and the character that I like the most is Moira, as I was talking about, and I wrote down a little paragraph of like knowing that I was gonna feel differently like a week or two later.
Mhm.
And here we are, and I feel a little bit differently about it now, and I do see it as like a
Oh, I remember
You
you, were
know-
like, I'm so, because we had to put this episode, we had to delay this episode, and you were like, I needed time to process. I
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah.
I was ready to power through it, but also I'm glad that we ended up having a little bit more time to sit on this one.
What you got?
Because what I wrote was, it was when Moira was talking to Magneto and Charles at the end, and she's like, "We can't bring Destiny back. Like, we can't do that because, pretty much we've got the celebration going and everything. But if we look at like changing one more thing, this moment might be like useless 10 minutes from now."
Well, and the precipice about that is that Destiny killed Moira in another lifetime because Moira developed a cure for mutants. And so
Right.
like Moira is practically afraid of Destiny. And Destiny
Oh, of
can
course.
could see into someone's future.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So, I mean, I was 100% with Moira at the end of this. Like, I was like, they could end this entire series right now. And I feel like that would be kind of what Moira wants in a way. And what I wrote down was, I feel like Moira, after all this, moving forward and changing might mean this moment was fleeting. All that struggle, pain, and death leading to only one outcome, that sliver of hope feels kind of hopeless in a way. It makes it feel so much more fragile, like something special glinting in the sand in your hands, and the slightest movement means watching it slip through your fingers, losing it forever. And I feel like that's 100% what Moira was talking about.
Mhm.
And it kind of felt like the world was in that time too, where like, you know, we've got this motion for change and having people pay attention, and like we're celebrating the fact that it's being like more openly talked about and everything. But it felt like, you know, a week from now, is this all just going to be useless? Like it was kind of that line of thinking that
Is everything is the media going to move on, and is that, or when you go back to same with the Ferguson protests in 2014, is it just going to go back to where we were?
normal? Is it going to go
Before.
back to the more pain and more death and more, you know, more of kind of the same that it's been for a long time? So at the time, you know, the time that you take in any piece of media, it affects your view of life and the world.
Yeah, well,
and this was
especially-
one of those pinnacle moments for me anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what X-Men
point.
is.
Well,
I mean
yeah.
that's what they are. They're the placeholders for you know, the unheard or the unsung. And there was a reason that this was written, and I've posted some shots of some screen grabs from comics that I've read where essentially you can replace mutants with any sort of disenfranchised people, and it's the same thing. It's the
Yeah.
you know, they even talk about it in this, you know, Cyclops says it. He's like, "Did you think we'd just stay silent and take it forever?"
I mean,
Or
there's a point where
do you think we'd be a
Xavier
catalyst for change?
Xavier says, like, where were you when 16 million of us were murdered? You know, where was the Avengers? Where were the Fantastic Four? Where were the heroes? And this is just an everyday thing for you guys. You guys gotten used to us being killed. And that's why that was one of the first lessons I learned in film courses, where it was like, what you bring to the table is what it makes the movie. Because if you haven't watched a lot, then you're not bringing a lot. And so to ask a film to be more than what you are allowed to bring to it is kind of a disservice. So it's kind of like when you watch a gangster film and have not watched The Godfather, and then that film isn't referring to The Godfather, then that film doesn't really want to have a discussion with you. And so when you read this comic book and you understand the social economy and civil unrest that's gone on in our history, and you have no context for it, then what is the comic book more than just characters doing nothing? You know,
Right.
so it's
So like my point to that is I think that's exactly the emotion you should have with that.
Yeah.
and that's why I say, like, I get so upset when I see pieces of fiction be about nothing. And I'm like, at least this is trying to be about something. Because if it's just like, here's some popcorn and go fucking spend your $20, it's like, but you're not even trying to like talk about something important. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you can have entertainment and be important, but you choose
Yeah.
to be lower. You
Yeah.
don't choose to
It's
strive
it's
for
a
more.
choice you make, you
Yeah.
could say. Yeah.
So it's like this
Yeah. So
tries
I
to be
think-
more.
I think what you wrote there elicits the exact reaction I think Jonathan Hickman wanted, and it's to get people to, you know, pay attention and think about that, how fragile these moments are, so that when the next time something like this comes up, anyone who has read this can be like, oh,
You should
That's what
we
that
should pay
was.
attention.
you should tweet it to
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's on that tweet game.
yeah, he is.
All right.
Nice.
We'll clip this and send it over and be like, thanks, buddy.
Cool. We all good? You want to sing us out, Josh?
Yeah, everybody at home, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining us on this discussion about House and Powers of X. Let us know what you thought if you have read it.
Who's your favorite mutant?
Yeah.
You
I
said that
wanna
as
know.
if you were like half asleep and eating something.
Me?
Who's your favorite mutant?
Who's your favorite?
Hey, who's your favorite mutant? But yeah, thanks for joining us. If you are new to Nerd On, do check out our website, nerdon.tv. Stop by, rate and review us wherever you listen. That kind of stuff does helps us to grow, helps us to learn.
Makes us feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, warm and fuzzy. Do consider joining the Nerd On Nation. As I said at the top, it does help us to grow, to be the best that we can be. And yeah, it's just it's a good time. The Discord is a wonderful place to be. It is open to the public, nerdon.io
food porn.
/Discord. But yes, as a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get private servers. But yeah, that has been it. We love you all. Stay safe, stay healthy, and you know the drill. As always, Nerd On.
Ending broadcast.